Hello and welcome to Universal Heritage Television Nigeria. Today we bring you an interesting edition of our A Matter of Concern program. In this package, we are going to talk about journalism practice in Imo State. The media we know is a critical tool of development. Whatever happens to the media, whether right or wrong, has a way of also affecting the society. We are going to discuss these matters with two gentlemen, media professionals for that matter. I have on my right Gele Abai, Pastor Gele Abai. Gele, or do I call you the chief priest?
No, don't call me the chief priest.
Okay, Gele Abai is the publisher of National Newsbreak, and he has honed his skills in so many aspects of journalism. Gele, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. And on my left is Mr. Martin Ori. Mr. Martin Ori is a regular on this program. Mr. Martin Ori is a co-publisher of the New Oriental newspaper, and he has a lot of experience in media practice. Martin, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Hello viewers, we ask you to remember to like our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube platform. My name is Afam Echi, your anchor. Martins, let me start with you. Early last month, you authored a piece which you titled A Clarion Call to a New Age. In that piece, you raised concern about the quality of expression or construction found in our local tabloids. And you really expressed worry, deep concern. Now, what are the critical issues for you, the main issues for you that originated that essay?
Thank you very much, Afam. The fact is that in any profession, as we all know, there are steps to be taken before somebody is qualified for a particular profession, and that is what actually entitles you to be called a professional in that regard. And journalism is not an exception. Before someone becomes a journalist, we all know you must have gone to school to the level as stipulated in the NUJ Constitution. Number one, I'm very much worried with what I see all over the place in Imo, and I start to query if actually the professionals here are truly qualified to be what they claim they are. That's point number one. Point number two is, before becoming a journalist, what makes you, who in fact is even a journalist, so to say? And that is where the problem starts, because I am very much aware that in the law profession, in the legal profession, in the medical field, in engineering profession, before you call yourself an engineer, the current must have to certify you. Before you call yourself a medical doctor, the association called
yeah, Martin, permit me to interject. I will get to that.
Okay.
Who qualifies to be a media professional? Or
am I drilling from your question?
No. What I want you to point out specifically.
Okay. To start with, you see, there is this. There are certain things. When I was growing up as a young man, my father used to buy in Daily Times, and to the best of my knowledge, Statesman, and he would hand them over to me and say, read to improve your English construction. Today in Imo, I don't know how many of the Imo-based local newspapers I will buy and place on the dining table for my kids to read, because what I see is horrendous, is horrific, and is frightening. For instance, when I bought a newspaper, a local newspaper here, don't worry about the name of the paper, I saw a stay
Clear.
Clear. Imo State was Barbara. Stay clear. Instead of star, STEER. Star clear. That is it is a fixed idiom. You don't have to shift it. Okay? Number one. Number two, this book is entitled, not titled, or a story is titled. So many of them, every time you see them happen. At the crossroads, and every time the S is missing. The art or the is missing. You see them writing Obi is going to the altar to wed his heartthrob. The heartthrob is the man. It's not the girl. The girl is the sweetheart. You understand? So if somebody has passed through the Rubicons,
The rudiments.
through the processes that make you a journalist, these things will not be seen on the papers. That's my worry. That's my concern.
Okay. Okay, Gele, you are a publisher, just like Martin is too. What Martin has just said appears to be a kind of self-indictment among publishers of newspapers in Imo. Do you agree with his submissions?
Well, thank you. I agree that some newspapers in the state do not adhere to certain ethics and ethos of the profession. They don't strive for excellence. You know, apart from going to school, acquiring skill, a practitioner should also strive to do whatever he is doing, publish his paper in an excellent manner. Some people don't want to adhere to or strive for excellence. They simply want to couple. Do I use that word? They have a mode, and then they pour the material into that mode, and the paper goes to the press, and it is not right. But it's also an opportunity for some professionals like my friend, senior colleague Martin Zori, to raise or set up training platforms for our colleagues here. It's also a business opportunity. Like if you organize trainings, some people will come. In fact, I'm also open to training, to learn more and improve on my craft.
Yeah, I will come to you because I do know that once you had the journalism school, I don't know what happened to it, but I will come to that.
Okay.
Martin, will you think that this challenge is actually rooted in the fact that most of the publishers are not journalists? And because today it is believed that journalism is an all-commerce affair, everybody gets crashes and does whatever it's like. It's not regulated. You know, do you believe that these problems are coming from those who are not professionals by training?
Is a part of the problem. Is not the major part of the problem. In journalism, we have three types of publishers. You have the sitting publisher, who might be a practicing, journalist. You also have a non-sitting publisher who can also be a practicing or non-practicing journalist. I will give you examples. Odus Okal, who publishes Son, is not a journalist and is not a practicing journalist. So you don't see him there. He hired the professionals to do the job. You have the Duke, Obaegbena, Ndoka Obaegbena, who publishes this day. He's a professional and he's a sitting, so he sits in the newsroom, he has office, he supervises, in principle, might not be in practice. He sees whatever that comes out of this day every day. So the problem is not particularly on the publishers. The problem is the practice itself. What do I mean by the practice itself? In the newsroom, when a reporter comes back from the field with a story item, after writing the story, what you give here is called slug, S-L-U-G, to direct the proofreader, the sub-editor, the assistant editor, the deputy editor, and probably the editor on the line, the action line of the story. He gives his story to the assistant editor, who goes through it, structurally and grammatically, saving wrong grammatical expressions. Okay. After the assistant editor must have read, he gave it, he will now pass the story to the sub-editors or the proofreaders, who their own concern is grammatical blunders, in lexics, structure, these issues. So when the script now comes to the deputy editor, the story is already packaged. The deputy editor now looks out for what they call libel. Is this thing against somebody? You understand these issues? But you found out that in today's newsroom, you don't have such things. The reporter comes with a story and it goes straight to the computer, to the planner. The publisher may likely be interested in the commercial angle. Is it going to the cover? It is also amount. How much did you bring? That is the major concern. That we call it the gate. The gate is very open. The gatekeepers are no longer there. Yeah. If they are there, they will be able to pinpoint the errors. And at the end of the day, you may not have 100% in a newspaper without errors. But it will be drastically reduced. It will not be a daily repetition. You understand the issue? Yeah. Number one. Number two is most of the reporters are not being paid. Most of the reporters, how did you even recruit them? Did they read mass communication? Did they read English? Did they read the courses that are related to practice of journalism? If they are not, did they go to any UJ? I mean, no, any IJ or IJ in Imo. You know, since I came to Imo in 2014, I have not seen any seminar, any workshop organized for modern day practice of journalism.
Okay, just hold it there. Let me get to you again. From what Martin has just explained, it appears the commercial interest is more pronounced in the publication of newspapers in Imo. Because judging from what he said, we don't find this line of gatekeepers who will check these errors so that the paper comes out right. You know, the interest is more of what do we get from the paper. You are a publisher, so you have a publishers forum group. So what actually is the motivation? Is it to impact, demonstrate good skills learned on the profession, or is it more of let us see how much we get?
Well,
so what is it that rules?
Well, I'm not ruling out commercial interest. Okay. But I'm also agreeing with my dear friend Martins that there are supposed to be some line editors who will maintain what in the factory they call quality control. Yeah. The story moves from the reporter maybe to the sub-editor, to the assistant editor, or to the deputy editor before it gets to the production plant. These stages are to eliminate awkward constructions, parasites. There are ones that are parasites, and then libel. But you know that to hire this line of line editors is also a function of money. You must pay them. And most of the publishers may not have that capacity, that financial capacity, to employ those line editors to ensure that what comes out becomes a quality product. Now, again, but it's also an opportunity, like I said, for even investors to come in and help in improving the financial capacity of some of these publishers or publishing firms. Now, yes, our colleagues, like some of us are also journalists, as well as publishers. Oh, okay, we became journalists before we even became
trained
publishers.
as a journalist and then became a publisher.
It is sometimes easier for us because we know how the profession works. and we're also part of the profession. So you may eliminate some of these line editors because you know the work you are supposed to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? But then you also need to work as a team with the number of staff you have. Like in my own organization, my assistant will call my attention to certain expressions or use of language. We discuss it, and I agree. Maybe this one is off the point, and this one is right. We correct it before even we print. But some of my colleagues don't do that. Some, once you turn the story to them, it goes straight to the computer. Maybe out of lack of time, or maybe they don't know higher than what is given to them. So it could be a function of either or both of them.
Okay, guys, let me still remember with you. I remember now. In that essay authored by Martins, he commended you and gave you kudos as one of the best edited. But he excluded you from the level of errors that experienced among the local tabloids. Congratulations for that. Yeah, but still, let me write on with the question. Continuous professional development is a common practice among professional groups. You have the NMA, the MBA, CIBN, ICANN, and they are continually growing themselves, updating themselves, upscaling their skills, so that they can remain in touch with the realities, Now, in journalism practice, how does this happen? How do media professionals upgrade themselves?
Well, let me make this statement. The difference between two persons is training. I mean, people may belong to the same profession, but the other one will do better if he gives himself to training. Some people don't realize that training is very important. I think it was Francis Bacon who said, reading maketh a man, writing and then conference a ready man. Now, when you read, there are things you're exposed to. You learn more. When you write, you are more exact. You are not like when you speak. Speaking is different from writing. So you want to, if you are describing something, painting a picture, because we write in images. When you want to paint a picture, you want the person to understand what you have in mind. But some people, when they speak, but believing that somebody knows or will understand what they have in mind. But it's not the same thing as in writing. And then when you attend a conference, which is training, you are equipped, more equipped. You are exposed to new trends, new techniques of doing the same job. So I will recommend that training programs be mounted from time to time regularly for journalists. And journalists here in Imo State, I'm happy that Imo State loves journalism, and they are also having many newspapers and even broadcast stations, private ones, and even government ones. Now, journalism is thriving, apart from Lagos, Abuja, and maybe the Southwest, Ibadan axis and all that. Imo is the next hub.
Here, Imo is the third, where you have
hub of print journalism, especially. So now investors can help us. People who have financial capacity can come in and leverage on that and say, okay, let us partner.
When you are talking about investors coming in, specifically, what do you expect from them? Is it in the area of growing skills, exposing the journalists to training, or is it investing in the various newspapers to make them qualitative? So what actually explain?
Both. Okay. Now, they can also help to mount training programs for practitioners who are here so that they can improve on their craft. They can improve, they can acquire new skills. They can also learn new trends. They can also come in terms of investment. You can approach anyone that you like, any newspaper you like, or any media organization you like, and agree with them on how to run the business. But the thing is that practitioners here should also help investors. What I see sometimes is let's just get money from this guy who is ready to spend money. And then as long as the party lasts, we are okay by it, and the money fizzles out, because the media industry doesn't yield money quick. I mean, in terms of, it's not like buying and selling. You buy a phone of, let's say, 15,000, and the next moment you're selling 20,000, and you are counting 5,000 as your profit. It's not like that. You may even use 150,000 to print in 1 week, or 120,000, and at the end, you are getting a sales of, let's say, 20,000 or 10,000. So you will be discouraged. But that's not how to judge the success of the media product like newspaper or radio. Because there could be a time the money can come in bulk, or through sponsorships, through some other commercials that may come. So, but our people here, they believe more in buying and selling. And that's the challenge.
Cash and carry.
Cash and carry. And that's exactly what the Igbo man is suffering from. Because he's interested in okareka. Like those of them in Aba, they buy okareka, and the next moment they could maybe buy okareka 100,000, and the next moment they are selling 150,000, and 50,000 is their profit, and they are seeing it. But it's not so with the media.
Okay, Martin, let me get to you. How do you think professional practice is regulated in the media? Who is the
Regulated.
who is the regulator? Then who is qualified to practice journalism and to publish? Do you get my question?
That was the question I asked. That was the question I raised in my last article that got people knocking me hard. You understand?
Yeah.
I did an article, a piece. I said a clarion call to a NUJ. I wanted to know, before somebody becomes a publisher, you will have local newspaper. The other name for local newspaper is community newspaper. That's the one we have in Imo. We have regional papers, like in the southeast. It's now called zonal. You now have national newspapers. Then don't be surprised. There's the one they call the sub-regional. Like if you knew about this a magazine called in West Africa, it was among the publications that made me to pick interest in journalism. It covered all Africa, all English-speaking countries of Africa. It's called sub-regional. And then the international newspapers or magazines, So if we are doing a local tabloid, for example, what is the qualification in terms of academic qualification, in terms of experience as a professional, in terms of financial capacity? How much are you expected to have before you call yourself a publisher? Because as he rightly said, you are going to employ some professionals to run the paper. Do you just give them the ID cards and they go out there begging for money, which is what is happening here, and is quite absolutely condemnable? You understand? So we are charging the NUJ to come out with a proposal, a regulation that will say before you are a local publisher, you must have practiced journalism up to this length of time. There, you should have been able to know the difference between news and story, between article and news article, between feature and news. You understand? Yeah. You should be able to know some constructions. Because if you are in the newsroom practicing with somebody like Dele Agbai, you should be able to know that there is a difference between the word L-O-S-E and L-O-O-S. I'll be L-O-S-S, loss. Yeah. It's not the same thing. That when there is, it has been. The being there is B-E-E-N. But when it is being. The being there, it is B-E-I-N. It is when you practice. You are in the newsroom. When you bring your script and you see it corrected, you learn. It's not on a magic. So the truth is, we are appealing to any UJ to help us with an organogram of how these things should be compressed and should be, worked out. Because my brother, when I was a younger person, journalism used to be a noble profession. I don't think that it is still now. Everything we're talking about now is to how to acquire wealth, how to make money. It's supposed not to be. The thing I learned when I started, the first day I entered into the newsroom, my editor, 1998, I freelanced for 2 years. I was certified in 1998. I was told that journalism is to educate, is to inform, and to entertain. But the education is no longer there. The information we're even passing, some of them are false and fake. I don't know whether it's only the...
It's very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Because in society...
Very dangerous. Two people are fighting. Of course. If this person comes and tells you lies, you go to that person and interview that person. You balance the thing. But what we have today is a situation where two politicians or two investors, two industrialists are fighting. The bigger person, the biggest bidder will bring money and we highlight him. That is very, very wrong. It doesn't augur well for the society. Yeah. You understand? So that is my stand.
Okay, let me take something from Gere. Let me ask you, drawing from what he said. Now, there is this allegation, that journalists, especially in the States, are involved in unethical practices. For example, collecting money from clients without publishing their stories, invading activities, programs, uninvited, and then harassing people to extort money from them, and fighting over money, whatever has been given to journalists, lowering, their esteem, before others. And most people has defended themselves because they see it as a strategy to survive, because the publishers who engage them do not pay them. How do you reconcile this with the claim by newspaper publishers that they are also employers of Lebanese, has been helping government to employ people, yet the journalists complain that they are not paid? You are a publisher, you've been on the job for some time. So how do you, what are your thoughts about what I've just said?
Well, if anybody is engaging in cutting of corners, yes. I mean, somebody pays you to run a story or publish a story and you don't get to publish the story, you swallow the person's money. That one is, I think it's financial crime. And the EFCC should be called upon to arrest such a person. Anybody that engages in that is fraudulent. Yeah. And therefore, the person involved or the person who gave him the money without getting satisfaction from the transaction should also lodge a report either with the police or the EFCC. Now, blackmailing people is also wrong. It's not just about journalism alone or journalists. It's a kind of moral upbringing the person has that will make you to go and blackmail another person. Because if you are blackmailed, you will not be happy. Yeah. So anybody who engages in that is wrong. Now, for people who get crashing, I think a reporter is a news hunter. He wants to get stories even from places where he's not invited. But if he gets into such places, he should not ask for any money. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Like if you want to get a story from an event, you are going there to get the story. Getting the story does not mean that you have to now begin to ask or solicit for money to enable you to get the story. First of all, you were not invited. Yeah. So you should be comfortable with only getting the story and using the story in your platform, because you also need story to publish your newspaper. Now, as per employing people without paying, if any employee agrees to such arrangement, is it not his problem? Should he not leave such employment if he realizes that he is not going to be paid? Like now, I was corresponding for an online medium from here, even though I also do what I'm doing. But at a point, they said they will no longer pay. I had to withdraw my services. Do you understand? Yeah. Because I don't want to render a service that will not be paid for. Unless if I just want to do that, I can do that on my own. So anybody who agrees to being employed by a publisher on the ground that he will not be paid, it is his own arrangement. And whenever he becomes tired, he can sever himself, disentangle himself from such a arrangement. But it should not make him.
I want to add to what.
It should not make him to begin to extort money from members of the public. You see, you can even do a major report about somebody, investigate him. If you write something factual about somebody, you will not get into any trouble. Even if it is the person is doing something wrong, and you write it and you have facts to prove what you have written, the person will not make any trouble. He will rather even want to curry your favor. And that time, bigger money may even come. Do you understand what I'm saying? So our colleagues should, apart from having skill, let them also have moral training. Know that it is not good to hit at somebody.
Yeah.
Because if somebody hits back, you will not feel comfortable.
So the morals is...
the moral is the moral training or the spiritual training of a person is very important. Because without that spiritual training, even if you have skill, you will be using the skill for destructive purposes.
Okay. So
he made the argument very well, but he presented it as if it is an exception. It is rather the rule, which is not supposed to be. What I mean is that the publishers in the state, as long as I'm concerned and my investigation is not wrong, 99% of them do not pay. It is very, very wrong. So it is now a situation where a reporter is already unemployed when he's employed. A reporter is already unemployed when he is employed. So
it's an unemployed.
And the sufferings of an unemployed person is what the person is bearing. And that is what causes the blackmailing we're talking about. Because that person, at the end of the month, at the end of the day, is not going to get paid. So right from the one, what he knows to do is how to the extortion. Is how to extort money from resource persons, and which is very, very bad. It is part of the thing I'm saying that any UJs should resolve. It was Simon Kolawole when he was the editor of the news. The news magazine was published by Atiku Abubakar. When he was the editor of the news magazine, he resigned. That man, I do like him. I loved him for that in 2001, 2002. What happened? There was a news a story that was he investigated against Tutunumbu, and it was to be wrong. Somebody at Academy Press in Lagos called Tutunumbu. They brought cartons of money to he refused and resigned forthright.
That's professionalism.
That's professionalism. How many people will do it? Even today's publishers in Imo have experienced terrible things. When you give them a story, they call the subject of the story. If they charge them 100,000, the person will bring 250, and they instead of running the two stories now side by side,
so that the public will
to know it, because the essence of the compilers of in the government of the society said the fourth estate of the realm is not law, it's not engineering, it's not medicine, it's not any other course. Journalism is the fourth estate of the realm, because we are the people that keep the government on its toes. By the time we compromise it, everything in the country, everything around in town is compromised. And that is why Kola Wale said that the NUJ should have a law whereby before you parade yourself as an employer on the issue of publisher, you must deposit a certain amount of money with NDIC. To show seriousness. To show seriousness. By the time you are no longer paying and you are still maintaining that office, the court where the vote is put should not be paying yes, and these things will reduce. So the issue of a publisher, you go and contract 5, 7, 10 persons in the reporters, planner. The only people they pay, according to my investigation, which I say is not is very genuine, are the planners. The planners, the 2-3 of them, they play because if you don't pay them, tomorrow they will not come plan for you. And the planners have also have their own methods of
Looking at them.
they say give me before I plan. You see it. That is not how it's supposed to be.
There is that your experience.
You see, that is the truth. That is the truth.
Okay. Yeah, let's move ahead. But now, this is a very serious issue because, you see, I'm much more concerned with what Martin said. The thing that you find in print influences a lot of people. There is so much trust and confidence in the media, in published works. People believe that, oh, it is in the paper.
It's in the paper. That's what it is.
I read it in so. And so, in the same way they consume even the wrong materials, the wrong things put out. Now, Gele, let me ask you again. Is it possible to self-regulate? I mean, the publishers in the state to self-regulate and then to be able to control some of these lapses.
In terms of what they publish.
Yeah, in terms of what they publish, and in terms of everything we have discussed here, in terms of control of the conduct of a journalist, to give it that professional credence, you see media men, they are looked down upon, even when they play critical roles. The society cannot survive without the media.
Before I answer the question, I was with somebody here in Imo. I will not mention the place. I will not mention the name. I was with a politician here in Imo during one event. Some in a group of a journalist was coming towards our direction. The man quickly said, "Ori, please, I don't want these rascals." That was the language he used. These people, they are blackmailers. They are criminals. I said, "This is my." He said, "If you belong to this colleague, don't come to me again." Imagine that. Imagine such an insult.
Let me come in here.
Yeah.
The way you carry yourself, even if you belong to any other profession, is very important. In the same way I practiced here, I've been practicing here. I started with a national post here.
Okay.
Earlier, I had worked with the Horn, which was owned by Chief Oni Ebuninge when he was a chairman in the Tolu local government area. Yeah. I've been here. So I don't think anybody will say that I have extorted money from the person. Because my own focus is not to extort money. I want to make money.
Gele, it's not about.
No, what I'm saying, the colleagues who go to blackmail others, they should stop doing that. If you want to make money, you see that you are satisfying people. There is something you are doing. You are rendering a service to them that will make them happy. Because any money you make without giving or rendering a service to others will diminish. It will not even help you. Now, it is wrong for the people that call themselves Kunja. There is a group that call themselves Kunja.
But they said the publishers are also into Kunja. Is it?
Well, I don't know.
Because,
I don't know how publishers do Kunja. What they mean by Kunja? We have different characters belonging to the same profession or doing the same trade, applying the same trade. But what I'm advising is that people should stop demeaning the profession they belong to by the way they carry themselves, the way they operate. If you need money from somebody, tell the person, please help me with money. Not trying to bring something to blackmail the person because you want to get money. Like if you have a story about somebody and you want to get to the other side of the story, ask the person so that the person will make his own contribution. You place it side by side in the story. Now, if any politician wants you not to get to the other side, please don't accept such a business. Like there was even one during the last dispensation. A politician sent one of his aides and said he wants me to have an agreement with him. I said, what is the agreement? He said, you will not publish anything good about a particular politician.
Wow.
So anything you publish will be bad about him. I said, I can't enter into such an agreement. No, I said, I can't enter into such agreement with you. But if you say, okay, publish things nice about me, let me use your platform to market yourself. I can do that. But to tell me not to publish something good about another person who is your opponent, I can't do that. Okay. Even when you are ready to pay.
Okay. Martin, when you were explaining something, you made some mention of being the fourth estate of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does it come to you that a professional group that prides itself as the watchdog of the society, as the fourth estate of the ring, as you described it, would take laws into its hand? What comes to my mind specifically is what transpired last week in the state here, where a factional leadership of the NUJ invaded the state secretariat and began to vandalize and create violence, beating up people, injuring people, just because they are involved in the attempt to sell the same secretariat. You know, and this same secretariat was hosting a training institute, the Institute of International Institute of Journalism. And it was in the attempt to sell this secretariat that school was shut down. Now, how do you explain it? That do you still think that journalists are prepared, or the leadership of news in the state are prepared to promote real journalism practice? If they will get to this extent, I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Well, affirmation, the truth of the matter is that I am as scandalized as yourself, because I know very well that journalists are the mirror of the society, and it is written everywhere that when you are unaggrieved, there are steps you take. Either you go to the police or you go to the court. So the invasion you are talking about, I was able to ask one of them. I was there on the second day, and I asked the
second day of the attack.
Yes, I asked one of them, said, "Come, what is the problem? If you think that Precious Nwadike is not the genuine NUJ chairman in the state, the way you are coming here now, look at the bravado of which you are coming. If these other people now react the same way you have come, there will be blood shed here." So I'm very surprised that I know even in the United States of America, even in Europe, even in Asia, everywhere at the national level here in Nigeria, associations disagree. Every year when NBA is doing it, they break people's heads.
Yes.
The same thing with the medical association, the same thing with Corem, the same thing with these people, the association that holds musicians together. Pima, they always fight, I'm very much aware. But to go and invade and behave like touts and tops, that is where the area, as I said in my last article, I think the angle of the story I have is that because where two people are struggling, where two factions are struggling, you believe that I believe that I'm right, the other person believes he's right. I don't take your own angle from you. Let us go to court. If the court, as I wrote in my last article, if the court today, as we sit down here, says Ifeanyi Nwanguma is the true chairman of then the worst I can do is to appeal to the appeal court, if I have the funds and the capacity, to the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, if it succeeds, I hands off. I cannot, as a human being, invade the secretariat, the hallowed chambers of NUJ, and start wounding people fighting that you want to recover, you want to take by force, by bravado. I was very scandalized. Let us continue the negotiation. Let us, the day he was, his own faction voted in as the chairman, we met at Rockview. He called me that I should support him. I said, I'm not supporting you for now. Go to Precious. Let us have negotiation. Let us talk. Let us talk. Who says that we cannot come now? Come. Okay. Precious, we want you to step down as the chairman of Imo and UJ. I'm saying, for instance, okay, the Nawaj, why Precious steps down from his own side, let the other other angle that controls Nawaj, the president of the Nawaj there, steps down. Why the Precious fashion or produces the Nawaj chairman? As they are producing this, we are producing that.
That's negotiation.
Negotiation. Let us agree. Okay, if you don't want to negotiate on the table, leave it until the court decides. You understand me? They say he has been elected. He wants to take over. He wants to. No, he's as a person, based on my training, experience, and exposure, all these things they don't work. You are taking us back to the Stone Age. It's not good.
Okay, Gele, you are aware that the matter Martin mentioned was already in the court, in the industrial court. They disputed 2018 New Year election. And
I think that should be 2019, not
okay, sorry, is it 2020?
Because the election was eventually held in 2019, March 3rd, 2019.
Okay, thank you.
It was first of all.
Yeah, but it started in 2018.
Yeah, it was scheduled.
The statement was in 2018.
It was scheduled for July 14, 2018.
That's what I.
But on that day, it was called off.
It was. It started in 2018.
It started in 2018. Then the two factions emerged in 2020. And the matter, it became a sub judice, you know. And for a matter that is in the court, was it right for journalists, in your own view, even as a layman, you know, because the court is seen as an arbiter, was it right for any party to have gone ahead again to conduct election, even when there is an injunction? Because I understand that on the 27th of January or so, 27th of May, the National Industrial Court, before it went down in June, gave specific order and ordered the two factions to produce their membership. And while the court, shut down, the other group went ahead to.
What was the order of court? Let me understand what.
The order of court is saying, stay as you are, don't hold any election, because it was learned that the Akaronye group wanted to hold the election.
On May 20, either 27 or 25.
So yes, yes, the industrial court ordered that it should not hold. So, and after the election, after Wanguma emerged, now the brigandage started, and they went to
brigandage.
The hooliganism. That's how we call it, because it's not expected that white collar workers should indulge themselves in this kind of a thing. Going to
let me come in. I'm not a unionist.
I'm not also a unionist, but the NUJ belongs to all of us.
NUJ in the past 3 years in Imo State has not been actually working because of the factionalization. You had the Akaronye faction, and then I think it should be Steve Uzechi before Precious faction. Let me paint a scenario. The election was scheduled for July 2018, but on that election day, the then president, Wahid Odusile, ordered that the election should be postponed because some members had not paid their check-off dues. Many people that wanted to vote were not even eligible, qualified to vote because they had not paid their check-off dues. Now, a caretaker committee was raised, which was headed by Francis Ebomugwo. It had 3 months within which to organize the election, but it could not organize that election within three months. And another 3 months was given to it. But in between the second 3 months, the national election now came at Abeokuta in Ogun State. Of course, Wahid was somehow taken to one faction in the state. Or was supporting one faction, or was in good terms with one faction. Now, which made even the faction to go to Abeokuta to participate in the election. I learned, I don't know whether it's true, because that the faction was not even qualified to be at that election. But because of their good relationship with Wahid, they were allowed to vote. Wahid lost to Isiguzo, of course, which that faction did not support. Now, Isiguzo now came into the scene and said, I don't want to carry on with what my predecessor was doing. Let us now organize a fresh election.
On a new slate.
On a new slate. They said, no, that he cannot start on a new slate. He has to carry on with the old slate, or the one that his predecessor left. Because after all, government is a continuum, or administration is a continuum. The man now said, okay, instead of asking you people to buy new forms, And then, but you have to re-indicate interest that you are still interested in that particular position that you were vying. Some of them did. Some did not do, because they believe that the old order should subsist, which made them to fix election March 3rd, I think March 3rd or March 6th, 2019. Now, because some people did not indicate interest, believing that the old interest they indicated was prevailing, the Isuguzo presidency or administration saw it as that those who didn't indicate means the other person who indicated should now be elected unopposed. So on that day, I learned the other faction trooped to that place, but before their arrival, they had already declared some people elected unopposed and sworn in. That problem continued.
Okay. That's the origin of the...
That's how the thing started and continued. And now to the point that the court, the industrial court, was said to have issued an order stopping the election that was scheduled for May 25th, 2022. But you know, those of them who are lawyers or who know the legality of everything said there was no certified true copy of the order. There was no order issued, issued in print. That's what they are holding on to. And then before even the court was shut down as a result of the problems, because the judge gave a judgment against the state government, and even issued a garnishee order on Zenith Bank account of the government. So in fact, the security details of the judge was withdrawn, making the national president to now withdraw him and say, come back to Abuja. So the court is now under lock and key. Okay. Now, I think the Isuguzo administration must have said, okay, if the court is shut down, do we now wait?
Yeah, but let me draw his attention to something. Because if they're saying that there was no order in print, but this matter was already in the court, and the earlier election has been challenged, is it also proper to go and start thinking of another election when the matter has not been disposed?
No, I'm not a lawyer.
Well, I'm not either.
I'm not a lawyer. What I'm saying, if there was any order, I think that faction should have obtained a copy of that order.
Yeah, because
so that at any point now that it is people are quarreling over whether there is an order, they can produce it.
What I heard that the judge has not signed that order before the court went down, because this was towards the end of May and the court was shut down first week in June.
June 3rd.
So I think it was in the process and it was not there. I don't know, but again.
Before you continue, I don't fault whatever he said there. I don't fault. It's very accurate and the points he made were very clear. My own concern is the comportment of the journalists. It is very normal for a child to protest that the mother has not given him or her food. The child has not given the child food. But it is not in order for the child to go and scatter the kitchen utensils on the grounds that he has not taken the food. That is, I don't know whether I understand me.
Okay. There is another issue that I understand has been challenging journalism practice in the state, and that is the alleged interference of the government. You know, the State Commissioner for Information, has been alleged to play some dirty roles. If you check, the major media groups in the state is factionalized. The mainstream NUJ has factions. The Nawaj has factions.
Publishers.
The Impact, the publishers has factions. And at each time the emergence of the factional group, the opposing group, the commissioner will head them to the government, to the governor for recognition. There is the allegation is very strong from the NUJ leadership that he is the one behind the crisis in Imo. Gele, I don't know how you see that.
Okay, let me come. Let me use the Imo Newspaper Publishers Association as a case study.
Okay.
I was the secretary of the electoral committee, a four-member electoral committee. And when the election, or the process for the election was on, allegations started flying left, right, and center, that I have been compromised. I was the secretary, I was not even the chairman, but they were accusing me of having been compromised by government to produce a government candidate. In fact, the lady that made the allegation said it as if she was present when the bribe money was handed over to me.
But did you know you are a pastor? No, they said pastor don't collect.
No. So they said the government had a candidate, and government was hell-bent on producing their candidate. I say in this election that we are running, because one, no government person approached me or approached the chairman of the electoral committee. Now, if government had an interest or a candidate, will government come and vote? Government cannot come and vote. Correct. They can only maybe use emissaries or use members, maybe influence them to vote for their own candidate. Which means if you are influenced, it is now your problem. So when these allegations were going on, we maintained our stand. Some of our group, some members, they said that they were now the owners of the association. Chairman and board of trustee member, chairman and secretary, which, yes, every association must have a board of trustee. But in our own EMPA, it's not a lifetime position, and it is by election. Okay. So, and no member of EMPA can say that an election was held for that position since we started it. So we stood our ground. On that date of the election, 18 September 2021, we agreed and went to the venue of the election. The other people said they were doing a conference on fake news. As we were conducting our election, the news now came that the conference of fake news has also produced a chairman. I don't know how a conference, at what point the conference transformed to an election. So they created the faction in EMPA. But people will blame government, that it is government. Now, you cannot rule out the fact that government must have interest in the associations that are in their state. Okay. There is no government that will not have interest and will not even want to produce the person who will be amenable to them. That is, I don't think in Nigeria you can have such government that will say, NUJ, go and run the election anyhow you like. Because government also wants to protect its own interest. But what I'm saying, the government officials cannot come on their own to vote on that day. Okay. So why are journalists allowing themselves to be influenced unduly? Because even if you give me money to vote for somebody, I can't guarantee. In fact, I will not collect such money. And you cannot guarantee that I will vote because it's by secret ballot. So these people that are crying government, in fact, the Emelumba has been so pummeled, so aspersions has been cast on him several. I even think that the man has thick skin because he has never betrayed any emotion. Because if you begin to attack me like that, I don't think I will keep quiet. So let the journalists themselves put their house in order by themselves.
Okay. Now you are a senior member. Martin, let me get to you too. Now we will be rounding up at this time. Maybe this will be our last comment. Now, what do you want to suggest as a way out of the imbroglio, the challenge, or what has been bedeviling journalism practice in Imo, in terms of leadership, in terms of quality personnel?
Let me also use this opportunity to commend the professionals in Imo State for their doggedness. In fact, they are saying number 3. Imo should be on number 2 after Lagos. I was in Abuja. I've been in Port Harcourt. I've been in Ibadan. I see all these things. After Lagos, I don't see that there's another city that parades the number of journalists with skills, with doggedness, everything put together. So the thing we are lacking is that a professional guide of these are the do's and these are the don'ts. That's the only thing. So going to your question, we need to have a regulator. There is no regulation. Journalism in Imo State is not regulated. I was in SON for 10 years. there are my former editor, former managing director, who is now the presidential spokesperson, Femi Adedeshino, will always tell you, Ori, go and correct yourself. Go and correct yourself. When the story comes to you, he will not even give it to the sub-editor. He will not give it to the rewriter. I'm not sure there are rewriters again. He will not even give it to the person editor. He will call you the writer, because tomorrow you are going to grow to be an assistant editor, to be editor, to be deputy editor. And Femi additional mistake. He said, I want you to pinpoint where you made this mistake and correct yourself. And I am saying that such a thing does not exist in Imo. We have a situation where a reporter comes directly from the field, and his script goes to the planner, and it goes. It's very, very wrong. No matter, yes, Gele said it's because of financial constraints. Yes, I agree. And that is what I'm saying, that before you become a publisher, there must be required estimated certain amount of money you're supposed to have acquired, put in the vault, so that you did this before you open a hospital, for instance. Are you not going to contract a doctor, nurses? Will you, even if you are a medical doctor, are you going to be the nurse? Are you going to be the laboratory person? So also, if you are an engineer, you open a firm. There are people you hire to build houses, to construct the house. So also, in journalism, it's not the work of the publishers alone. We should have a process. And I also want to cue into his idea that perhaps this is an opportunity, a business opportunity for investors to come. So somebody like you, somebody like him, so somebody like myself, we can agree here now to open up a institute of journalism for the training, for telling people how to do it, going to conferences and seminar, even if it's for weekends. Let us start it. And again, let people like him write and condemn. I know how many publishers that have called me, and they were very hostile and harsh on me. Okay. They were very hostile. So if 2-3 people continue and write the way I wrote, people will pay attention. Yes.
Yes, my final word. Let our colleagues give themselves to training. Some people don't like to be trained. In fact, there are some people, when they bring their script and you correct it, I expect that, like the way I learned my own, when I was still a reporter, or in fact, I'm still a reporter, when I was beginning, when I started, if my script comes out the way I wrote it, I will congratulate myself. Yes. Then if there were corrections, I will study it. And then the next script should not have the same mistake. But so that is the way to grow. But some people don't grow like that. They are like records hooked on the groove. They keep singing the same old song. So it shows that the person is not growing. So let our colleagues give themselves to training. Let them also be ready to part with money to acquire this training.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we cannot exhaust this topic. Gentlemen, I think I need to bring you back some other day so that the other issues we didn't discuss, we can, like talking about how to grow skills, and then we look at the possibilities. Thank you so much, Martins, for coming. I appreciate your contribution, Gele. I appreciate your contribution.
Thank you.
Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for being part of the program. Here we round it off. Thank you.